Welcome back to GCN Racing. Today was stage 7 of La Vuelta a España. Yesterday it was another summit finish and another breakaway win for a second division team. This time it was Jesus Herrada who delivered the goods for Cofidis, his first Grand Tour stage win. 7 seconds behind him was Dylan Teuns, who could be equally content as he'd done enough to ride himself into the race lead and therefore the red jersey. Today we had yet another hilltop finish. A 183km stage to the Mas de la Costa, a climb which averages over 12% for the final 4 kilometres, with a maximum gradient of an eye-watering 20+%. Another very big test then for the general classification contenders, of which there are fewer by the day. Further to the withdrawal of Iran, Carthy, Roach and De La Part yesterday, Davide Formula of Bora Handgo was also unable to take the start today due to the injuries he sustained in that very same crash. We had well over an hour of furious attacking at the start of the stage before this group was eventually able to prize itself clear, while Eyes, Gilbert, Enau, both Sebastian and Sergio, Rossetto, Jauregui, Brambilla, Barth, Marcinski and Michael Storer. Brambilla was the best placed on general classification at a little over 8 minutes. By this point, EF had lost yet another rider, TJ Van Garden also unable to make it to the finish due to his injuries. Today though wasn't without its incidents either. Here a couple of riders from BH Burgos hit the deck whilst trying to pace KOM leader and stage winner Angel Madrazo back to the bunch, and as they were making their way back on again, more problems, this time for James Knox of De Koning Quickstep. Movistar was setting a very high tempo in the bunch. We can presume for Valverde. Quintana was quoted in the press today as saying that the world champion is the sole leader of the team here at this race. Onto the penultimate climb, and Marcinski, a double stage winner here at the Vuelta 2 years ago, was pressing hard on the pedals, marked closely by Gilbert. That up of the pace would put an end to the chances of Rossetto and Jauregui. Towards the top though, we were down to 3 riders, Gilbert now with Sergio Enau and Brambilla himself. The pace being set behind was enough to put paid to the hopes of race leader Dylan Teuns, who'd been distanced. Basically, we'd be getting the 4th change in the red jersey in as many days. Up front, that lead group had decimated. The riders from that original break scattered across the climb. This man's had a tough time of it so far this race. Theo Gegenhardt came into it as an outsider for a good GC position, but illness scuppered those plans. Does look to be getting better though, he'd attacked the bunch on the climb. At the top, it was Enau who'd take maximum points, his cousin Sebastian having just managed to get back on. With Movistar though continuing to set a blistering pace, it wouldn't be long before Gegenhardt was brought back, whilst up front Gilbert was on a flyer. On an unclassified climb here, he distanced all the others and set off solo. Coming towards the foot of the final wall, Astana were back on the front controlling things, the gap down to 45 seconds, and then half a minute had been chopped off that by the time they started the climb proper. There is the gradients of the climb, 25% in fact the maximum gradient there. Ouch, that is Danny Navarro of Katusha Alpecin, yet another rider to have hit the deck today. A few hundred metres later and the leading duo were caught. Today would be won by one of the GC contenders, and Jumbo-Visma were clearly very confident in the chances of their main man Primoz Roglic. This is Sepp Kuss, who was on another flyer today, setting the early tempo and putting a lot of riders into trouble. Next on the front, it was George Bennett, the group already down to just a dozen or so riders, but then the big names came out to play. Nairo Quintana, working for himself, or Valverde? Well, to me, it looked to be the latter. This was not an attack, this was Quintana setting a hard pace for the world champion. And so we were soon down to 4, the 4 strongest riders in the race. Quintana, Roglic, Lopez and Valverde. The quartet were glued to each other midway up the climb, nothing to separate them basically, but plenty of separation between themselves and the rest. Next rider on the road was Rafael Majka, Pogacar, Chavez, Aru and Izagirre all further down the road. Still, great to see Aru fighting towards the front again. Hasn't got the nicest of styles on the bike, but it's been a tough couple of years for the Italian. He appears to be getting back towards his best. At their best though were these 4. Things literally couldn't have been any closer with 600 metres to go. There can only be one winner though, and a man that's used to winning a lot is Alejandro Valverde. He went and stomped on the pedals with 200 metres to go, and there was nothing anybody could do to respond. Roglic would come home second on the same time, whilst it was a further 6 seconds before the Colombian duo of Lopez and Quintana crossed the line. Best of the rest was Rafael Majka, but it all closed up behind as well. He'd come to the line just ahead of Izagirre, with Pogacar and Fabio Aru of UAE Team Emirates just a little further behind that. Well, when will this man stop winning? Alejandro Valverde, winner of the World Championships last year in Austria, and he's looking good to defend that in Yorkshire this year. On top form right now. There's confirmation of the top 10 on the stage, rounded out by Rodriguez of the Escatel team. George Bennett up there in 9th on the day. This man was a few minutes down, losing his red jersey, but he'll be pleased with that. Well, here's your new general classification leader then. It's Miguel Angel Lopez for the third occasion in this year's Vuelta a España. He's now 6 seconds in front of Primoz Roglic, Alejandro Valverde at 16 seconds, whilst Nairo Quintana is at 27. And this race looks to be between those four. Tomorrow, it's slightly less hilly, amazingly, although this is not necessarily a sprinter's stage. We have a 7-kilometre climb, which peaks with 27 k's to go, so it'll be interesting to see whether any of the sprinters' teams attempt to control it, or whether this is one for the breakaway. We shall see you tomorrow.